All right, so when it comes to write your own equation word problems, there's two basic type of equations. One of them is a max revenue equation, and the other one is what we call fencing problems. All right, and they're very similar, but on the max revenue problems, you're always going to set x equal to the number of price increases or decreases, and you're going to set y equal to revenue because it's a money problem. And in the fencing problems, you're always going to set x equal to length or width. It doesn't matter. I usually set it to width, but it doesn't really matter. And y you're always going to set equal to area. I'm going to post the answer to quad 10 number, I think it was, I forget, number 9, I believe, I'm not sure. But that's going to be an example of one of the fencing problems. So you can take a look at that. I'll do one of the revenue problems here, and then you can see how each one is done. So let's go back to this homework. Let's just take a look at number 3. Sam bought a pizza shop. The previous owner was selling 800 pizzas per day and was charging $20 per pizza. So that's what's happening right now. They're selling 800 pizzas at $20. Sam feels that $20 per pizza is just too expensive. He calculated that if he decreases the pizza price by $5, he could sell 5 more pizzas per day. And then it asks you 2 questions. How much should Sam charge for pizza to maximize profit? And what is the maximum profit? So first of all, you'll note the word maximum, so you know what you'll ultimately be trying to find is the vertex. You want the maximum point. So now we need to come up with an equation. All right, so if you remember, we set x equal to the number of price increases or decreases. So let's take a look at the problem and see if is he increasing his prices or is he thinking of decreasing his prices? Well, right here it says he calculated that if he decreases the pizza by $5. So we know that he's going to decrease his price. So if we take a look at this, we're going to say x equals the number of price decreases. We don't know if he's going to decrease his price by $5 or by $10 or by $15. So we don't know how many price decreases is going to maximize his profit, but that's what we're going to set x equal to. And y is going to equal the total revenue. All right, so now that we've set x and y, we can write an equation. So our revenue right now today, before we do anything, if you remember, right now today, he's selling 800 pizzas for $20. So right now today, if I want to say how much money he's making, this parenthesis being money and this parenthesis being number of pizzas, right now today, he's selling 800 pizzas at $20. Right, let me just check that. I don't remember if I remember that right. Yep, 800 pizzas at $20. All right, but he's thinking of making a change. He found out that if he decreases his price by $5, he could sell 500 more pizzas. All right, so he's going to decrease. So here's the money. So he's going to decrease by $5. But again, we don't know how many decreases he's going to do. X is the number of price decreases. So he's going to decrease by this amount. And when he does that, he's going to increase by, was it 500 pizzas? I think I'd remember, but I don't. 500. Okay. So he's going to increase by 500 pizzas. But again, if he has one price increase, he's going to increase by 500. But if he has 2 price decreases, then he's going to increase by 1,000. So again, we have to put an X there because we don't know how many price decreases he's going to do. You'll find in these max revenue problems, one parentheses will always be minus, one parentheses will always be plus. So the signs in these always will have to be opposite. Now we have an equation that we can go ahead and put into our calculator. So let's go do that. All right, so I'm going to go to my Y editor, clear out my previous equation, and I'm going to say 20 minus 5x times 800 plus 500x. Now, in these problems, you're going to see that your window usually is quite large. But let's just hit graph and see if we can see anything at all. So here you can see this little teeny tiny graph here somewhere. So let's go ahead and change. Certainly our x's have to be much smaller. So let's put this down to, I don't know, let's start with 100. Again, it's just a guess. And I'm going to change, I'm going to change this to 5,000, just as a starting point. All right, so you can see I need a lot less x's, but I need more y's. So let's make this 20. And let's make this 20,000. And see what we see. All right, so now at least I can see my vertex, but again, you can see that my x's have to be much, much smaller. So let's just change that to 5. And there we go. That's a nice graph. I could maybe use a few more y's to give myself a little more clearance here, but it doesn't really matter. So remember, if you're going to use your calculator, you actually have to draw your window. And your window size should be about the same size as the calculator window. So let's take a look here. So there we go. It's a word problem, so I set both my x's and my y's to 0. And if I take a look at my window, I set my x's to 5 and I set my y's to 20,000. All right, so I'm going to mark that on my graph, 5 and 20,000. And again, I have to label my axes. So I said X was the number of price decreases. So this will be the number of price decreases. And I set Y equal to revenue. So that'll be revenue. So now I have a nice graph that shows that I have my work. Now I can go back to my calculator and go to my graph, and I want to find my vertex. So I'm going to go to second trace or second calc. I want to find the maximum. So it says on here, it says left bound. So I'm going to put my calculator cursor to the left of my vertex, anywhere to the left, and hit enter. Then this switches to right bound. So I'm going to go to the right of my calculator, my right of my vertex, and hit enter, and then hit enter again. And it's going to tell me that my vertex is, if I round, 1.2 and 19,600. So now let's go back and find out what did they actually ask. They said, how much should Sam charge for pizza to maximize profit? And what is the maximum profit? All right, so my X is 1.2. So that means I'm going to have 1.2 price decreases, or every decrease is going to be $1.20. Or no, I'm sorry. I'm going to have 1.2 $5 price decreases. So if I go to my calculator, I'm going to get. So if you go to your calculator and say, whoops, clear, 1.2 times 5, that'll tell you that there's $6 or $6 that they want to decrease their price. So if they started at $20, then if they're going to decrease by $6, then they should charge $14 for their pizza. So on here, they're going to decrease by $6. So they're going to charge $14 for the pizza. And you set your Y equals to revenue. In this case, we're going to consider revenue and profit the same thing, although it's not exactly the same, but for this it will be. And so this is the Y of our vertex. So the revenue will be 19,600.